Welcome to Catholic Life as we spotlight ordinary people with extraordinary faith. I am Dina Dow, your host today, and I'm really excited to have with us the Executive Director of Catholic Charities of the Diocese of Baton Rouge, David Aguillard. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Hi, Dina. Thank you for this opportunity. It's great to be here.
Good to see you. We were talking before the show, and you've been Executive Director for 15 years?
Yeah,
is that what you said?
Going on 15 years. It started in October 2008, so in October 2023, we'll make my 15th year anniversary.
Wow, that's serving as Executive Director. Well, you were here before that, right?
I worked, I started volunteering after Katrina, and then began helping with some of the housing needs after Katrina. Then one thing led to another, and I became the Executive Director. It was a wonderful opportunity. This is the best job I've ever had.
Oh my God, that is really great to hear. I didn't know that you started out as a volunteer. Isn't that like the Lord though? You know, we do things, like you had a passion, a desire, a call to serve, and then here now, years later, you're like, I never really have seen myself in this role.
I had always been interested in a life of service, and I worked in healthcare, worked at Our Lady of the Lake. My Catholic faith has always brought me in that direction of wanting to serve the poor. And this has been a wonderful opportunity for me. Personally, but also just because of the tremendous good work that we're able to do. I've got a fantastic team of committed folks who I've got to be careful that I don't overwork them sometimes because they tend to, want to do everything that they can, everything that they have time for during the day to serve people in need in our diocese.
Yeah. And what's your education background that led you to working for that? I mean, did you do like this?
I went to St. Louis University, Jesuit college education, and so service in the greater glory of God, is a part of my mindset. And then I was a journalist for a few years. What attracts a lot of people to journalism is, again, service and public service. I have 3 master's degrees in journalism, health administration, and public administration.
Wow.
I worked for the state of Missouri. Then when I started having children, came back home, wanted to get closer to home, continued working in service, and that's when I started working at Our Lady of the Lake.
Wow. Okay. That's a great path. And it sounds like everything you did leading up to this point in your life has kind of prepared you for what you're doing today, too. And that's just, I love that.
Yeah, many of the positions that I've had prior to coming here, and then especially here, involve complex relationships with state agencies, nonprofits, forming partnerships to serve folks and find areas of need and create programs to serve those areas. And that's what we're all about here at Catholic Charities. And doing it in the name of the Lord, doing it, not just for the sake of service, but also touching people's hearts. And we see that at Catholic Charities. We survey every client that we have. We want to know, how did we do? And so we frequently get comments that, this wasn't just a service. These people care about me, and so that love and that, the privilege that we have to serve people in need, which is a gift and it's a grace in our lives. Right. I think that shows through, and the people who we serve feel that and see that.
Yeah, I agree with that too. We see, the services all the time, the fruitfulness of it too. When people come and go and they experience that, they tell the stories. So kind of briefly, if you can, like what are all the services that Catholic Charities offers? Just kind of another overview. I know people may have heard it, but it's always really good to revisit that and hear that again.
There's so much that we do.
I know.
And it's not just 1 or 2 programs. It is, 15 or 20 programs. And then we've grown tremendously as the community needs have changed over the years. Our services have changed. For example, when I first got here, we had something called foster grandparents, and it is a program in which we pair elderly through the school system with at-risk children. And that takes place in the school system, and they are assigned to children in classrooms. Well, the need for at-risk children don't only exist in classrooms, they're in homes too. Right. And so we have grown a program over the past several years that we call PACT, Parents and Children Together. And we have home visitors who, what happens in a home is the most important part of a child's
Yeah.
development. And we not only do we have the foster parents program for young school age children, but birth to school age, we are in the homes working with parents on their children's development, their parenting skills, then helping out with other needs, employment needs, behavioral health needs. And it's a peer-to-peer mentoring program, and it has fantastic outcomes too. Children enter school more ready to learn. We see the parents' anxiety and depression and some of their indicators, their involvement in their children's lives increases, their involvement in their children's education increases as well. So we have that program, and it's won awards. It has been recognized by the Aspen Institute, for example.
Yeah.
So that is something we just weren't doing 10 years ago, and it has, it's now both in rural areas. We focus on rural areas. We're in St. Helena Parish, we're in Point Coupee Parish, as well as in East Baton Rouge. So that is something that is kind of new to us over the past 4 or 5 years. And then we have our traditional services of, we help people with rental assistance and homelessness prevention. We have behavioral health, adoptions. One of the services that we have, and we're the only one in the state of Louisiana, is our Sanctuary for Life.
Yeah, I love that
which
program.
is homeless for homeless pregnant women. Don't have to put your child up for adoption with us. If we've got an empty bed and you are pregnant, we've got a place for you to stay. And we've actually expanded that too. We now have what St. Patrick's House, where after delivery, mothers with young children can come, because sometimes there's just very few choices for mothers with young children who are kind of living couch surfing, so to speak. Our immigration and refugee services, has grown over the years. We've taken on a lot of Afghanistans the past year. We have some Ukrainians, there's just so much that we do, and it's all service to the poor. We are told in Matthew 25, when you feed the hungry, help people who are homeless, that's when you're serving God.
All those corporal works of mercy, but within those two are those spiritual works of mercy that come out at the same time. One of my favorite testimonies of watching David in action is during hurricane relief, and him getting into the big Catholic Charities truck and pulling out of the parking lot, knowing that you're going to provide services. And that was a real accomplishment, is getting that. I think it's a refrigerated truck, or, to bring needs and kind of supplies down to the areas that are most impacted by hurricane disasters.
Yeah, we are always extremely active after a hurricane. Just as soon as we can hit the road, we are out there. We recently got the big truck. We call it Frank for Pope Francis. We after Ida, we were all over South Louisiana, not just the Diocese of Baton Rouge. We were down practically to the Gulf, south of Houma. We handed out over about $500,000 worth of supplies, and that's still ongoing. One of the things that Catholic Charities does, and not just this Catholic Charities, but Catholic Charities all over the nation are really known for, is the long-term disaster recovery. There's a tremendous outpouring of goodwill and energy in the immediate aftermath of a disaster, but the long, hard road of recovery for the poor families and the handicapped, just goes on for years. I mean, we're still working with families from the 2016 floods, because so many times families who are on the edge, one disaster can just knock them over and put them on almost a permanent condition of having difficulty meeting their needs.
And I think what I appreciate about at least the disaster relief services that we've seen up close, especially after Hurricane Ida, and going, it seemed like my husband and I, a group of us, were just going from place to place each weekend. Like, okay, we're next, and learning how to gut out houses, and really kind of rubbing elbows and being in relationship with those that are suffering. Working alongside with Catholic Charities, especially down in Houma Thibodeau. I mean, that was our contact. We meet with them, and they're like, okay, y'all go here, you go here, you go here. And they drop you, say all day. We brought college students with us, all with the support of Catholic Charities, showing us where to go, like bringing people to the epicenter of the disaster, working with the homeowners, talking with the homeowners and, really just kind of accompany them. So if it weren't for the mission of Catholic Charities, I don't know how we would have ever found those people.
Yeah, people don't fully realize this because a lot of the most dramatic pictures from Ida were along the coast.
Yeah.
But the greatest damage was done in the Diocese of Baton Rouge, Livingston Parish, Tangipahoa Parish, St. Helena, and that's where we're working right now.
Yeah, which sparked what we're going to talk about in the second segment, which is this food bank program that you have. But I remember during recovery with Hurricane Ida, some of the outlying parishes that were actually affected, but still open to their doors to distribution. Going there, and then here comes Catholic Charities bringing in relief. So food and supplies and all that stuff. Can you tell us a little bit about that before we go to the break?
Yeah. That was, it kind of opened our eyes. We got down into areas in the lower part of our diocese that we had never served before, and we saw just phenomenal need. And so when we were there, we developed contacts and relationships. Said, so how, what are y'all doing next week? We saw, very severe poverty and a great need. And so then we started trying to think of a way and work with partners in other areas so that we can not only be there after a disaster, but be there year round to help people in need. And so that's the food program that is really growing faster than we imagined and challenging our capacity.
And I think it's important to remind our viewers that the disaster response, although initial, is like more for the long term. You know, so you're there initially as fast as you can, gathering things, but at the same time too, your Catholic Charities will continue to be there until every last person is served in that area. But then that brings about a different response because there are other needs that rise up, is what I'm hearing.
Exactly. And and we're, and we are here. I mean, we've been here for decades. We will be here for decades into the future. And so people have turned to us, and they know that the Catholic Church is not only there in that immediate aftermath, but we're here for the long haul.
Yeah, and you can see the big green shirts. Those they stand out so well. I think they handed us out some shirts too for us to really kind of resonate. I think too that gets the word out for people. So we're going to take a break.
Okay.
When we come back, we're going to talk about what is called the Rural Outreach Program, which I'm really interested in because there's such a poverty that we don't know of hunger, even within our area. So we'll talk about that in the next break. Right? Stay with us. We'll be right back in just a minute.
I don't know, keep on giving. For your kindness, I'm in debt to you. For your selflessness, my admiration. For everything you've done, I'm bound to thank you for it.
We are the fog on your glasses. We are the cup to go at breakfast. We are the answer to your deadline. We are closing the deal. But more than anything, we are never being out of coffee ever again. Never. We are River Road Coffees, and we're ready to prove that our coffee is better than whatever coffee you're drinking at the office. Call us today for a side-by-side taste test so you can get powered by River Road Coffees.
Welcome back to Catholic Life as we spotlight ordinary people with extraordinary faith. I'm Dina, your host with the Executive Director of Catholic Charities of Baton Rouge, David Aguillard. Thank you so much for being with us. Guys, our first segment, I feel like we could go on for hours about all the services. Is there anything else that you wanted to spotlight before we kind of moved on to that rural outreach program?
If I had a better memory, I could list all. I could list all of our programs. I mean, one of the things that we do that actually leads to a greater degree of services and help for the poor is we have a diaper. We call it the diaper bank and baby love bags. Once a week, mothers with newborns can come and get some basic baby supplies and diapers, which are actually quite expensive. I remember when we had kids, and then the third one was out of diapers. It was like a significant a raise in our family income. When they got past the diaper stage. But then that also leads to we assess those mothers when they come in and other needs, and so we're able to help them in a more holistic way, in addition to just handing them material goods.
Which is what I love most about that. It's not like you're just saying, "Here, see you later, bye." It's like, here, but who are you? Tell me your story, and then all of a sudden you start understanding, well, there's a greater need than just this. And
that has led to, we're working with the diocese and church parishes and Walking with Moms in Need program. And so we have, professionals who understand social services and human services and social workers, with experience in serving mothers with young children and needs. And then we're working with the church parishes to help identify those mothers, and then working together as church. Not just as Catholic Charities, not just as church parishes, but as church, as the Diocese of Baton Rouge, to help mothers in need around the diocese.
Yeah, it's definitely a unified mission for sure. Yeah, and then even a part of it, especially because the focus that on evangelization, it's like when you're serving the needs of the poor and those that are marginalized. There are a lot of people that are kind of on the edges, and to bring them that welcoming hospitality, the love of Jesus Christ within the context of just sharing and giving and because when people's physical needs are met, when their mental needs, are really just kind of tempered with and taken care of, then they have a more tendency, to be able to receive, even more so the gift of God. Because if we're hungry, we're just worried about the next meal, and asking the Lord to provide that. And so, we're equipped to do that, right?
Well,
Catholic Charities is equipped to do that.
That's, Pope Benedict had an encyclical called Deus Caritas. God is charity. Now, and charity within the Catholic context doesn't just mean putting a $5 bill in somebody's hand. It's transformational love in the sense that Christ, was a new kind of love and a new way of reacting to people in need and responding to people in need. And so our work of charity, transformational love, is the presence of God and the love of God in our midst. And in a way, it kind of is our evangelization. I mean, that's what, the Catholic Church is unique, I think, in the way it is structured, and it is an integral part of who we are. The sacraments, the scripture, and acts of charity are the three essential ingredients of Catholic identity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for reminding us of that too. Let's talk about the rural outreach program. How did this, I read about this in the Catholic Commentator. I thought, oh wow, we really need to tell the story and kind of continue the mission. So tell me how it began. Like, what was the inspiration behind it?
Well, we years ago we started serving some high needs areas in Point Capee Parish, and that's where our home visitation model got started, with helping families with young children in need. And then over the years, every time we've responded to a hurricane, we get out into areas of our diocese and we see needs. And we meet those needs in those months after the hurricane, and then we get into long-term recovery. But meeting the physical needs and the material needs of people, there is no difference. We are incarnate beings, and God's love is expressed through the material world. The first act of God was to create. So after Ida, we saw some needs, and we made an intentional, you use that word intentional, decide we can't just disappear this time, So we with some some grants we got, we had bought the truck, and we started going back, and we started going back with food. There is hunger in this diocese, and it is a growing issue. The COVID and the social isolation, the difficult economy since then. We started with a food program in Albany in Livingston Parish with just less than 100 families. In 3 months, it's over 800 individuals, almost 25,000 pounds of food. We do it here in East Baton Rouge Parish, in Livingston. We're going to be adding Donaldsonville. I think within a couple of weeks, we're going to do our first distribution in Donaldsonville. And also, we also need to recognize it's not something we do alone. It's something we do in partnership with the church parishes. St. Margaret's in Albany. The food bank is a good partner of ours. Feeding America is another national organization that helps us with food and the distribution. And the people who we are seeing, it's the elderly and it's handicapped and it's families with young children. And we really see that we're meeting a unique unmet need. Especially with the handicap, many of them just can't get to the food bank or can't get to the store, and so this is an income-driven program. So people who qualify, if you can't get here, neighbors are coming to pick up food. Neighbors, some neighbors have brought their handicapped neighbors to sign up for the program, but then that recipient can authorize a neighbor to pick up food.
Gotcha.
So we have, people picking up food for handicapped who just have no place else that they can go to to meet their needs with basic nutrition.
That's my question too, is how can someone, what's the process? So let's say if I have a neighbor, that I know is really struggling, with food deprivation, just getting there, and resources and finances. How do we refer somebody, or how do we help somebody?
Well, they can call our office, 800-336-8700, and ask to sign up for the food program. They can send us a message on Facebook. They can email us at info@catholicharitiesbr.org. We do distributions once a month in each one of these locations. You can actually show up, and the schedule is on our website. You can actually show up and sign up. It takes, though, you can't just show up and then get food. We have a little bit of food for walk-ins, but this is it's a USDA program. There's a process of signing up and being qualified for it. But you can sign up 1 month, and then if we don't have enough food for the walk-in at that day, then come back the next month, and then you get on the program.
Gotcha.
And it's a once-a-year renewal once you're in the program.
Yeah. So when they're there, what's the accompaniment for them? Do you have an opportunity to really assess the further needs of them, like you were saying, during recovery, but now kind of this more steady relationship?
We can. It depends upon the person. Some people are there to just pick up the food, and that's fine. That's wonderful. But then, in the rural parishes, especially where the volume isn't so high, there's time for interaction. There's time to ask, is there anything else I can help you with? It's a 30-pound box. Each individual gets a 30-pound box of food, and it's kind of, I enjoy it. For one thing, it's one of the few times I get to I can be out there standing in our driveway.
We don't want to be in our offices. You want to be out. Who puts the boxes together? Is that something you guys
volunteers.
do?
We have groups of kids come from schools on weekends, and we get pallets of food, and we have to separate it all and put everything into boxes, and then be able to load those boxes into
What if
cars.
people want to donate to that? Donate either monetary resources or maybe food even? Do you take food collection with that too?
We'll take non-perishable food. Drop it off at our office. So yes.
Yeah, that's great. How much do you know to bring? Because if you're going out, in the rural parishes, is there a certain set amount that you guys will bring out there?
We do the registration beforehand.
Gotcha.
So when we first started this, we kind of St. Albany and or Albany and St. Margaret's was our kind of.
Yeah.
We went out one week and put out the word that come and register. And then depending upon the number of registrants, that's how much food we came back with. Like I said, plus a little bit extra for people who might just show up. We don't want to turn anybody away, but yet because it's a government program, which is good, there's a lot of needs that met, but we've got to follow the regulations, and we get, you're authorized for so many pounds of food, and we bring that much. And there's all inventory control, and that's a new thing. We quickly found out we're growing this program faster than our capacity.
I can only imagine.
We've traditionally not, we are traditionally not a logistics company, moving tens of thousands of pounds of things around as a continuous part of our ministry, So we're learning how to do that, and we're trying to figure out if we need to get warehouse space, and where might that warehouse space be, and do we need to get a refrigerated truck and forklifts and all those kinds of things, because the need just keeps growing. And it's a reflection of the times that we're in right now, difficult COVID, and then a difficult economy that has followed.
Yeah, and two things come to mind. One, scripture passage: we will always have the poor with us. Always have the poor. So the call to serve the poor, hearing the cry of the poor, to be able to move. And then Vatican II's document on laity, to not wait for people to come to us, right? But to go out, out. And I see that that fruitfulness through the mission of Catholic Charities, like you're going out into the community. Just any final thoughts on the responsiveness of this program and any feedback that you've gotten?
Well, people come through the line, and I've been out there, and they say, thank you so much. We don't know what we would do without Catholic Charities.
Wow.
And then also the food program is kind of similar to the Walking with Moms in Need, which is a partnership with the diocese. Through the food program, we're working with the diocese and with the bishop's office and with the church parishes. And it's really exciting to see, because so much of what Catholic Charities does is sort of professional human services with licensed social workers and trained individuals. But to be able to work together as church, as diocese, with the parishes, with the bishop's office, that's why I like being a Catholic, is because that structure and that support and that spirit of love that exists throughout the church, and to be part of that with the church and with the diocese and with the church parishes is personally very rewarding for me.
I bet. And it's definitely the mission field that Pope Francis talks about, right? That field hospital. So going out into the field, the vineyard of the church, and the heart of the mission in Catholic Charities. Thank you so much. We're out of time. And so definitely have you back on, I know, to discuss more things, that Catholic Charity offers. But if anybody's interested in volunteering, what's the website? Is it CatholicCharitiesBR.org. Great, CatholicCharitiesBR.org. Thanks so much, David Aguilar, and congratulations on 15 years of serving as Executive Director. Hopefully you got a good 15 years more to go. Thank you so much for what you do, and thank you for being with us on Catholic Life. Until next time, may God bless you and grant you His peace.